There we go. Oh boy. Think we started. Hey Steve! Steve, we're ready! We're live! Kind of started early there, sorry. Steve? Well, sorry everyone. Steve's not here right now. I was trying to help him out here. And yeah, I don't see him. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just talk to you a little bit here. I was waiting for Steve to get back. My name is Bobby, and I help Steve with different technology needs with our church. And even sometimes at home, he calls me up, asks me questions. So I was kind of helping him out in a situation here. So fortunately, he's not here right now. And I hit the button to start streaming. So yeah, that's where we are. But I'll start talking to you here a little bit about the situation today. COVID, of course, we've all been talking about that. I know Steve has brought that up in several, if not all, of his little speaks and talks he has. And hey, I'm an IT guy. I work in computers all the time. So I'll tell you what, we'll change it up. We'll do IT stuff, COVID. Let's talk a little about that. A lot has changed over the years, and I know for me, I work in Mount Carmel, and it's amazing what has happened in the last just 15 years, and even 10 years ago, the changes. And I thought, what would have happened if COVID hit just 15 years ago? And it's interesting because Skype had just come out, and let's say even 10 years ago. So when I started working at my job in Mount Carmel, and that was about 12 years ago, our internet service was 1.5 meg. And for those techie people out there, that was a T1 line. You know what a T1 line is? It's a special telephone line, basically. At that time, it was basically considered high speed. Not at all now. Of course, now we have fiber, and it's 1,000 times faster typically. And we don't really have needs for T1 lines anymore. It's just interesting how that technology has changed. And if this COVID had hit back then, I wouldn't be able to talk to you like this. And I mean, in the city, no real big deal. I mean, the city back then had a faster internet service, and you probably wouldn't have those issues. But for us out here in the rural areas, yeah, it was a little challenging. As I'm thinking about that this past week, a few weeks ago, thinking about church and how all of us have changed. Our church life has changed. Our daily life has changed. Even our work life has changed. I've had to do a lot of work from home, and then I've still done some work at work. But this has changed a lot. And California. I've heard that California, our brothers and sisters in California, have a lot of challenges. From my understanding, they might not even be able to have a church at all, and not even allowed to meet in homes. And I'm sure there's many others throughout the states. Different states have different rules. And from my recall here, our church locally is going under remodel, so we're not having church service currently in a way. But for those churches that are having service, they're limited the amount of people can attend. And it creates challenges, And I've been thinking, is there a reason? You hear all about this stuff of, oh my goodness, our constitutional rights are being taken away, and I see that, and I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to get in that subject. I don't want to get political at all. And I know we're interested in that, but I've been wondering, is it possible that God is trying to tell us something? I've often wondered if He is trying to get us outside of our comfort zone. We're so used to that church service, a traditional church service that what we're accustomed to. And maybe God wants us to look outside of that. Maybe He's wanting us to branch out and use other avenues. Historically, that's been taken care of. So that's what we typically think. The big evangelists take care of the internet. They have their big evangelistic series. They have their meetings that they hold all the time. They change up. 6 months later they'll have a new set of meetings, and 6 months later they'll have another set. And maybe they'll even come to a local church and do an evangelistic series for you. But the Great Commission is just not for pastors. It's not just for the evangelists. It's for all of us. We all need to go out there and talk to others and spread His message and His word to others. And are we doing what He's wanting us to do? We go to church and we sit there. A speaker gets up front and speaks. We have an offering time, take up the offering plate. We have that prayer time, prayer request maybe. We maybe even have that time where we kneel for prayer. Or we sing a couple songs here and sing another song here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, Luke 4:16 talks about how Jesus, as His custom was, went into the synagogue on Sabbath. And Luke 22:39, when He went to the Mount of Olives, it says, as His custom was. So there's nothing wrong with getting in a routine. Actually, it's a good thing. It's good to have a routine that you have worship each morning, and have that Bible time each morning, that prayer time or that study time each evening with your family. That's a good routine to get into. But I'm talking about outside of that. How is our custom helping or maybe hindering others? Sure, I can invite people to come to my Bible study, Wednesday night Bible study we have at our church. I've done that many times. Some I have takers, some don't. But it's a comfort level. Those people like, oh my goodness, do I dress up? Do I not dress up? Sure, I can tell them, but now they're feeling like, oh, I got to do this or I got to do that. And I'll say, look, don't worry about dressing up, but I know some people might have that concern. Do I do that or not? And what's so interesting, this COVID has kind of put us in a position, forced us into a position where we need to be open and look outside of that window. We need to look outside of that church environment, that Wednesday night Bible study environment, and focus on other options. Someone can join a Skype Bible study, and if they don't want to be seen, they can turn their camera off. If they don't want to be heard, they can mute it and just listen in and watch. Is God trying to tell us something? Jesus had a similar story. He didn't have the technology we have. But we have some parallels there. There are some things that Jesus did consistently. He spoke. He spoke to multitudes of people, multiple stories of that. Feeding the 5,000, the fish, and dividing the fish up from a boy's lunch. But he has an interesting story. And Luke chapter 5, I recommend you read that. And especially the first part of that. So as typical, Jesus is telling about his ministry. And scripturally talking to him. And something interesting happens. The mob, I hate to use the word mob, but the crowd gets so much, he has no place to be to talk to them. Now he could just leave. Maybe he goes to a mountainside like he's done in other stories. But in this scenario, he didn't. He did something unique. It was different. He got outside of what the norm was. He actually got into a boat. He actually says he actually got into a boat and sat down so everyone could hear him, so he could speak to everyone. And I see him getting that boat, getting away from the shore a little bit, and speaking to everyone. He wasn't standing up. He was sitting down. Man, that's interesting. And I think sometimes that God's telling us to do the same. Do we need to get out of that comfort zone? technology has allowed us to make it simple. You can take your cell phone, smartphone. I know a lot of people say they're smarter than I am. I know, I hear it. Tell you the fix for that? Go to one of those younger people in your church. Say, here's my smartphone. Here's my Facebook. How do I stream this? Can you show me? I'll tell you right now, most likely they're going to pick their phone up and say, oh yeah, you do this and do this. There's someone probably in your church that can help you. It's just a thought. Just a thought. And if you're all still listening to me rambling on here, I don't know if Steve's going to come back or not. If you're all listening to me rambling on, I would suggest jump in a boat with Jesus. Step out of our comfort zone. Find options. Be open. Invite others to join that Bible study, that Skype Bible study, and say, look, why don't you just join our study? Hide the camera. Mute the phone if you want. Just listen. Let's try that. Hop in the boat with me. Let's sit down for the ride. Well, maybe I'll talk to you later sometime. Bye. Oh, Steve, you're back. Well, I just finished, Steve. Sorry. Yeah, we're over.